PP. I'm Dr. Tingley. Welcome to my room. So I have been in this room, I think, for 15 years, which I actually think is key to being able to make your room your own. Little side story, my mother was a high school teacher in Yarnell, and I'm not even kidding when I say they had her change classrooms either every year or every 2 years for her whole career. And I can't imagine having to pack up your room and redecorate it. So I could see why some teachers might not want to make their classroom their own when they're constantly moving. So it's nice that I've been in this particular room for 15 years, and I think it looks like there's 15 years worth of stuff in here, so. I was kind of thinking about, the things that I have in my room and I think what would be worth kind of pointing out and mentioning. But I think what would be good is that classrooms should kind of have what I think of as 4 main elements. So first and foremost, I'm a bio teacher. So I definitely feel like it needs to have, the bio elements. So, I've got models, I have the plant model, I've got DNA models in the back of the room. I have my little body parts guy, way over there. So, the elements of biology, of course, but from there, I think it needs to have elements of students. So, student work, I have posters up. They just kind of recently presented these. You can see them all around the room, behind the door. So things that students have kind of worked on and put together. Some things students have put together that I thought were really cool and unique from past projects. So all of these things are student made, to kind of just represent things they've done for me. The second thing that I think is key are to have things that represent me as a person. I know at the beginning of the year, a lot of teachers spend a lot of time in class doing getting to know you stuff, getting to know the students, getting to know the teacher. But to be honest, teaching the IB courses that I have, I don't have much time for that. I'm teaching a lesson the second day that I have students. So even though I feel like I get a chance to really know the students, either, in the 4 minutes they come to class early and you're talking with them, I don't know if they really ever get much of a chance to know me. So I try to put things in the room that are kind of me-centered. So just for example, all these little stickers I have here, a lot of students are surprised to find out that I'm a hunter. And it's kind of a way for kids to be like, oh my gosh, you're a hunter, so am I. I have one of my deer heads in the back of the room. Maybe don't focus on that because that's a little one, but I hunt, so that's kind of, something that they like to connect with. But I have some other things that are very kind of me-oriented as well that I'll point out once we get over there. The fourth element that I think is key is a way to connect me with the students. And that's kind of what I like to think of, all these drama posters that I have on the wall here. So years ago, Mrs. Grinnell and I were the costumers for a lot of the plays and musicals. And I actually did the costuming through Les Mis right here. I haven't done the costuming for the others because I moved. I live an hour away now, so I had to stop doing that. But that's a way to show students how I'm involved, with things that they're doing and they might be interested in. So I have elements of that in the room as well that kind of connect the both of us. Coming over here, some other things that students notice. I have little wiener dogs, and I love them so much. So I have lots of pictures of my dogs. Students have even given me gifts of little wiener dogs. My favorite is when students make something for me because they recognize how much I love something, and it's their way to thank me. So I've had countless students with their artwork. I have so many pictures of wiener dogs that students have drawn me. And if you saw any of my drawings right now, I can't even make a stick figure look good. Okay, I'm a terrible drawer. June Park did that one. But I've had such nice drawings that I literally bring them home and I have them in my house framed. They're so pretty. So, I've got my dogs. That's another thing that connects me, for students to learn a little bit about me. I've got posters of my favorite artist over here that most students don't even know who that is, Tori Amos. But then they, yeah, see, there's your face. But then they ask, who is that? So I get to talk to him about that. The jukebox.
Over in the corner.
My boombox.
Oh, sorry.
It's not a jukebox. Yeah, so these plants are for one of my units. So I teach a plant biology unit that I actually just started teaching the other day. And one of the lessons is plants that asexually reproduce. And I like to have the students, as another keepsake, something they can take home with them, I have them propagate their own plants, which are like doing cuttings. So I bring all these plants from home and they sit in here all year just for that one lesson. But the kids get to come over here and pick what plant they like. This is kind of what like a cutting would look like. You can see some set up right there. They pick a plant of their choosing, I use it for a lesson, and they get to take them home. And I've had countless students who've gone to college years later emailing me a random picture of their plant that they took in their dorm room with them and is still growing. So that's what those are for. And my boom box is a throwback to the teacher that was in here before me. He left it in here. And I was like, well, that's pretty nostalgic, so I left it. It still works. I just don't have any cassette tapes to play in it though. Well, this is a good example of the teacher that was in here before me was not using them, I guess, organized the way I had them. They were literally just filled with random hodgepodge of junk. And I'm going to show you my favorite thing that I found when I was cleaning out these cabinets that scared the heck out of me, okay? There was so much junk in here. I was cleaning out these cabinets and I found a box that was not see-through. It was light as a feather, and I went to throw it away. And I was like, before I throw this away, let me see if anything's in there. You want to know what was in there? I think people downstairs heard me screaming. It was a tarantula exoskeleton, obviously not a live tarantula. But I'm like, who leaves that in a container unlabeled? I screamed so loud. But just kind of a funny example of random things that I had found in here. But I went through, I cleaned them all out, and I organized them. And I think they've stayed organized to what they are right now. But the good thing is students, you know, not only can they see what's in them, but they learn where things are. So if the kids are like, hey, can I have a beaker? They know right where to grab one, right where to put them back. So those are pretty consistent. Well, to speak on that a little bit, you know, I know there are some classrooms that are very, I guess what you could say, like sterile looking. But then again, because you're making your classroom your own, like what if that's just the teacher's personality? You know, and I get that it might not feel as welcoming, but that just might be, you know, maybe they don't have time for that, or maybe that's how they like the classroom. Personally, I like the variety of things to look at, because even though, you know, while I'm doing my lessons, I expect students to be paying attention to my lessons. But, you know, every now and then I think you need a brain break, and just to have something different to look at, or, oh, I've never seen that before, or, oh, I wonder why she has that. You know, it kind of gives your brain a little break. And it's got such a variety of things too that I just think it's nice to look at. And I think it makes the classroom feel very warm and welcoming. I use warm loosely because if you've been a student of mine, you would know my classroom is very, very hot. So I don't mean that type of warm. But I don't know, I think rather than to fault teachers that don't, you know, have the ability to do this, that just might be their style. Jossie, oh yes! Well, okay. So what's funny is because of all the different things that I have in the room, every now and then students like to interact with the things that I have in the room. And sometimes it'll be like a little surprise, like they won't tell me they did it. So I think it was last year, I actually had this poster, you know, bring back the woolly mammoth. And I, as a joke, had put Mr. Harrington's, you can see it right there, face on it. And then one day I'm teaching, and I turn around and I see Jossie's face randomly on it. Jossie did not do that, but he had apparently agreed that another student was allowed to put his face up there. So I was like, oh, I have nice little memories of Jossie, so now it's Jossie. Personally, I think my room could have nothing in it, and that isn't going to be the sole thing that connects you with a student. I think it's how you teach, the enthusiasm you have behind teaching, but making it, I don't know, making it fun for students, connecting with students. Could the design of my room have added to something like that? Sure. But I really think I could have had nothing in my room. And that's not what students, I don't think it's the first thing students think of when they think of teachers. So if there is any teachers out there that maybe don't have their room as organized or decorated, so to speak, I don't think it's anything they should necessarily feel bad about, because I mean, when I think back to my high school teachers, I couldn't tell you what one classroom looked like, with the exception of one. I did have one teacher that had a ton of animals in her room. I will never forget the countless snakes and mice and geckos that she had in her room. But other than that, I mean, I couldn't tell you what posters were in there, what models were in there, what student work was in there. I think it's something that's nice while you're in the moment, being the student. I just don't think it's something maybe that you're going to remember from that teacher. And then I thought I would kind of maybe end with this right here. These are some of my favorite things that I have. So I started doing this 5 years ago, though I wish I had them for all 17 years that I've taught. But when I started teaching HL Bio, and I realized I was teaching them a plant unit, at the very end of the year, have the kids go out and collect all these plants, and we press them and dry them. And I have them make like little picture frames, just like as a little keepsake for the class. But I make my own as well, and then I have all the kids sign it. So you can see all the different kind of versions of the ones I have from years past that the kids have signed. And I thought this was very timely because this is being filmed on St. Patrick's Day. And last year I found my first ever 4-leaf clovers. So that was the one that I made last year. So I have lots of things in the room that either students have given me or remind me of my past classes, and it's nice for me to kind of look back and have fond memories on my students. Well, thanks for taking a look around my room. Feel free to stop by and visit.